afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, 10 game-changing digital tools that you need for true efficiency. My name is Nicole Schmeida. I'm the Senior Marketing Specialist here at DocuWare, and I have a poll question for you, and I'll be moderating the Q&A at the end of the session. Today's first presenter will be Dan Fernald. He's the Regional Sales Director here at DocuWare. He has over 30 years of experience equipping various companies and industries with workflow and document management solutions. We also have a special guest speaker today, Michelle Evans. She is the Director of Quality Assurance and the DocuWare Champion at Motive Health, a health insurance company based in Utah. So we'll hear from Michelle later on in today's session. Here's today's agenda. So for the first third, Dan will cover, the 10 digital tools that make DocuWare's 15,000 plus users productive day in and day out, and then he'll go into a live introductory demo of them. After that, we'll chat with Michelle and how DocuWare saved her company numerous hours of manual data entry, and then we will open it up for Q&A at the end. So before we do that, I would like to ask you all a question. So you'll see in your GoToWebinar panel, there is a question box, and I want you to think and ask yourself, what top business challenge are you trying to solve currently? Maybe it's hard to find skilled staff, automating processes, securing documents. Go ahead and type the first thing that comes to mind, and I'll just read out a few. We just want to get a feel for, what you as the audience today, like, what are you facing? So go ahead, I'll just wait 30 seconds there. And if you can't think of something right now, no worries. If something comes to you as we go along throughout the webinar, definitely type it in, and we will share it in the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So I see some responses coming in, thank you. Improving the processes of our document workflows, overload of paper files, data from many different systems, audits with accountability. So it looks like those who have commented so far, looks like you're at the right webinar. We definitely have the tools to help you, all within DocuWare to solve these common main challenges that businesses are facing today. So thank you for that. All right, so with that now, I'm actually going to pass it off to Dan. So Dan, if you want to come back on the line here.
Thank you, Nicole, for that nice introduction. What we're going to talk about today really are some of the challenges that businesses are facing in technology and ways of being able to apply technology to their business to streamline operations, to be able to save time, and especially to be able to save resources, monetary and labor resources as well. There's a lot, everybody obviously is looking to control costs, but there's a lot to be had in being able to do more with less, and that seems to be what most people are trying to do. Businesses are always looking to attract new customers, and you see there's a variety of challenges right down to trying to replace some of the manual processes that we're doing on paper with digital processes. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today with digital transformation. You've heard that term. DocuWare's been in that business for over 30 years, providing digital transformation for its clients. And I'm going to explain a little bit how we do that. But the decision makers that we interviewed really agreed that COVID-19 and other challenges of the last few years have really increased the rate at which we're moving toward that digital transformation. And this is one of the areas where businesses are trying to, again, do more with less. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about DocuWare. DocuWare is a document management platform. It's a digital transformation tool that allows you to be able to create a common document pool or archive for all of your documents, regardless of where they're created, whether they're on paper, whether they're digitally created documents, whether they're email correspondence, any document that's part of your business needs to be moved into a single location for better management and more effective use. So whether it's in the HR department where you might be looking to onboard new employees or apply performance reviews and do all that in a digital environment, or it might be a sales department or legal department where there's contracts that need to be monitored for expiration dates and workflow to be able to renew our contracts on a timely manner or to be able to negotiate better. And all these other departments that you see. One of the most important departments that uses DocuWare is the accounting department, especially accounts payable, where the management of vendor invoices is extremely important and time critical. And where these time critical aspects are applied, we can help reduce the amount of time it takes to process the paperwork, whether that's literal paperwork or virtual paperwork, but most importantly, the ability to pass that information from employee to employee. When we have to approve a document, we have to make payments on a document. All of that can be done through digital workflow processes that match up with the way you do business today. So with this tool of creating a digital document pool and the workflow tools that allow you to be able to move documents through your business, we're going to show you a little bit more about how that can be done in a very streamlined way. So I'm going to go through the 10 tools kind of verbally and describe what we're going to show to you this afternoon, and then I'll give you a little bit of a demo of each of these aspects of it. But again, DocuWare is a user-friendly document management environment. It centralizes your documents and those digital processes. So that's what we're going to show you how we do. You may have heard the term artificial intelligence. Well, one of the things that's built into DocuWare is an artificial intelligence engine that allows us to do what we call intelligent indexing. And intelligent indexing allows us to be able to digitize documents, whether it's a paper document or whether it's an electronic document coming into your system through other channels. The ability to train documents to be read, recognized, and automatically indexed and stored by the criteria that you decide you need for that. So the intelligent indexing takes those tools of artificial intelligence and applies it to the digital world. We're going to talk a little bit about how we can use the documents once they're in your system, the ability to be able to, as they're being passed around, just like you're doing on paper today, making notes on a document, putting stamps on a document, or being able to edit electronic documents, we have the capability within our system to be able to allow for you to do that very similarly to the way you do business today. And of course, I mentioned before the importance of moving documents from one person to the next, from one department to the next. The routing and approval processes that can be gained through the use of DocuWare allow you to streamline your document processes. So we're going to talk a little bit about those tools that allow for that to happen. One thing that we also want to do is make it easier to find documents. And when you go to search for documents that you look for frequently, we have the ability to be able to create lists of documents and saved searches. But more importantly, right on your desktop, notifications that will come to the user to say, this is work that you have to take care of. So if a document's been passed to me that I need to review and process, whether it's a contract that needs review, or whether it's a resume that needs to be looked at, or whether it's an invoice, a vendor invoice that needs to be approved for payment, those can come through to me in my tasks, and I can find those different those aspects very easily utilizing the task list and utilizing my search lists. One thing we do very well is we integrate with Microsoft products, especially with Outlook, where we can build into your Outlook program the ability to store emails right into the DocuWare file cabinet. I'll show you how that works a little bit. With either a single touch or with being able to actually index the documents. But we can see those critical aspects of an email, your username, the date, the subject, and things like that, and manage that information, as well as being able to store both the email and the attachment if they're both required. If they're not required, we can set up a system to just store attachments. Either way, we can marry up to whatever your process is when you're trying to manage your emails better. We also utilize electronic web forms that give you the capability of being able to produce documents from the information that's provided in a web form. So for instance, if an employee, if you have an employment application online, an employee can fill out that application, and the information that they fill in once in the application, their name, their date of birth, their social security number, whatever they're putting into that, it's a secure form. When they submit that form, that information can also be used to populate other documents that might be required and allow for the creation of new documents for the onboarding process, so that it eliminates a lot of the redundancy that takes place during onboarding, in being able to fill out all those forms that you have to fill out the first day you report for work. Also, because we're very much in a hybrid or remote environment very often, everything from real estate agents to attorneys all have to have documents signed. And where we're not physically in the presence of the signee, we need a secure way of being able to do that. And we do that through the use of e-signatures. We work with DocuSign and other methods to be able to allow for sending a document from DocuWare, having it signed and automatically imported back into DocuWare with the signed document and the certificate of completion from the signature service. So all of that can be done automatically, and we'll demonstrate that in a minute. We also have a mobile app. Everybody's got one of these. So you know, the idea that I'm on the go all the time and need to access documents, we have to have the ability to be able to log into our phones and get to documents that are part of our process, even if we're not in the office to go to a file cabinet. And of course, people are always concerned about the web holding our documents. The securities that we build into this allow for both document and functional securities. So we can allow certain users to access certain file cabinets. We can allow certain users to perform different functions with documents, but not others. So I mentioned the annotation process before. The ability to annotate documents or the ability to delete documents from a file cabinet are restricted to a few users, where other users can have those rights. And people in the HR department can see HR documents, but people in the accounting department can see theirs, but they can't see the HR documents. So we'll show you a little bit about how that works behind the scenes as we go through the demonstration. And of course, one thing that we want to be able to do is leverage the way you're doing business. So if you're using SAP, or if you're using QuickBooks or something like that, we have the ability to integrate the application. So from your line of business application, you have the ability to be able to go and retrieve documents from the DocuWare file cabinet right away with a very easy interface that allows us to be able to interlock or integrate with those applications. So with that said, I'm going to switch over. So this is DocuWare, and you don't see much on the screen right away because this is just when we open up our program. It brings us into two different work areas, a general work area for, I call it a data and workflow work area, and an area for viewing documents. So it gives us a nice interface that we can do that with. What we also see here are the 6 main tasks that you'll perform electronically when you go through this digital transformation process. In here, we try and replicate what you normally do in the course of your business every day. We have document trays, and those trays are temporary locations like the tray on your desk that lead us to place documents in place that can be viewed and processed before they're stored into the file cabinet. So this is sort of a temporary holding place. We can view the documents from here. And we can then file those into our file cabinet. We'll come back to that in just a minute. In the search menus, we can look for documents by creating a search. So if I go into a search, I can see the search result here. If I go into my invoice search, I can see all the invoices. I don't have any invoices in yet, so I haven't started anything there. But if I go into my other search where I might have other documents, I can see a list of all the documents, or I can put in specific terms to look to narrow or filter this list, the result list. So this is a result of my search showing in a list format here. Now the lists are nice because this is where I can go in and look for things that come up frequently. I might need to see all the documents that have been signed that I sent out for e-signature in the past 30 days. So I can see that just with 2 clicks of my mouse, I can go in here and find those documents very quickly. Or if I want to look for documents that are waiting for signature, I can see those outstanding documents very quickly just by using this saved search or list in my interface. The task list we'll come back to in a couple of minutes because this is a very important part of the workflow where triggered activities can take place and notify a user either in this task list itself or even by email notifications. Now, many of your users will be very comfortable in working in Windows, so we want to be able to look at things the way we look at them in a Windows folder. So we offer that folder capability. So we can set up the folders to show your documents the way you want to see them. So if I go in here, I can see multiple documents in my US Steel folder, and I could create subfolders. I could have subfolders created for me in that. We can configure those to whatever you need. And the last thing we're going to look at is the forms capability, which allows us to create electronic forms. And I'm going to demonstrate that in a couple of minutes. But I wanted to go back to our tool list and kind of go through those 10 tools that we were talking about before. We'll take a look at those tools as we go through here. So starting back at our list with intelligent indexing, I mentioned intelligent indexing as a way of artificial intelligence. Well, you'll notice these 4 invoices that I'm about to store are all different format. They all look different. But in the course of importing them into our document tray, which we can drag and drop from our desktop, we can import them by browsing out to our file system, or we can attach a scanner or a multifunction device like a copier to our network and scan from those devices directly in here. So once I've captured the document, you'll notice that if I hover over the document, there's data here that our artificial intelligence, the intelligent indexing, has read off of that document. The document type is a fixed field, but it read the company name, the invoice number, the invoice date. It did the same for this document as well, even though that information was in different places on the document. So we have the ability to train documents to capture that information. So when I go to store the documents into my accounts payable file cabinet, all of that information is captured automatically. So I don't have to type any of this information in. So I can go through here, and I'm just going to store a couple of documents just to get us started here on our journey. Again, I've captured all the information. In the event that some of this or all of this information, if it wasn't captured exactly right or wasn't captured, that green bar that you see back here would be red or yellow or a combination of green, red, and yellow, depending on the confidence of our OCR engine. So let's store this document, and then we'll move forward to show you some of the workflow capabilities and how things can work. So I'm going to do a quick search, and we'll bring up, let's bring up one of our invoices. So we have an invoice here, and I talked a little bit about the digital annotations that we can do. We have the capability of being able to print, export, share by email, and perform a lot of functions with this document. We also have the capability of putting annotations on the document. And you've probably seen this if you used products like Adobe before and things like that. We can highlight certain information, and we can perform all of these digital tool functions, as it were. And we also have the capability of being able to edit documents. Because we're storing documents in their native format, we have the ability to be able to edit them in their native format, even though they're stored in a DocuWare file cabinet. So we can go in here, and if I click on edit on this Word document, you see the little Word icon next to the document. It's going to open this for me in Microsoft Word. So you'll see the original document that that's here. If I go in here and I highlight some information, put a highlight on the document, or maybe change the text size, I can make changes to my document. And then when I save that document, it's going to put it back where I found it. And when I look at it in DocuWare, you'll notice the highlights and the change in text size are included in that and matched with that. Now we also can show a document history that shows what we did with that document. So you can see everything from the day I stored that document, who stored it, who's edited index information or opened the document or exported the document. And you'll see here today, I opened the document, I edited content, and then I've opened it again once I saved it back with that edited content. So we keep a history of that document activity, and that's a great thing to have for your compliance purposes. So the routing of documents, we're going to show you something very interesting here. I'm going to switch over to my accounting department. Remember, I just imported those accounting invoices. Now you'll notice on this desktop, our Peggy Jenkins, our account manager, has this task lighted up with a little number 2. When she clicks on this, she'll see that she has 2 documents, one that needs to be completed. Now the WB Mason invoice was for supplies, and because of the amount and because this is a document we get pretty frequently from our vendors, we don't have to go through too much of a process to approve this. So I can go through, I can go through and confirm that this is correct, take a look at it and check that, and it takes it off of my task list. This one I might have to pass along to another person in the organization or make some other notifications on here to correct and recheck, or if I need to reject the invoice for any reason whatsoever, I can do that as well. But I'm just going to confirm this and move this through. So this is actually, it's come into my desktop and gone out of my desktop just by the fact that that we have these here. And now it's come back because I need to assign an approver to it, which I can do here and assign that approver if necessary and confirm that I've done that work. So I mentioned before about email, and one of the things that we can do with email is integrate with Outlook. So if I have an email that I'm looking at here, you'll notice it has an attachment in it. It's in this case, it's a CAD drawing. And if I want to store that, I can store that just by clicking on this button or telling it where I want to store. If I have a different low storage location, I can store the document and that'll be stored into my document tray for further processing. Now, once it's in the system, and this is a different email that was already stored, but once it's stored in the system, we store the email, and you'll see this is the message that came in by email, and page 2 of this is the attachment. And we even have the ability to be able to store the attachment first, or the attachment afterwards, or just the attachment, or just the email. It's really something that'll vary depending on how you want to save that information in your system. So let's move over to the web forms for a little bit. And I'm going to log in here as our HR manager, Elizabeth Cash. Now in HR, there's very often forms are used for a lot of different things. Pull this down a little bit. So we can launch a form, for instance, that's going to be a new hire requisition. And I can bring up this form, fill out the form, and fill it out for whatever we can, and you have the ability to be able to design these forms for your needs. In this case, we want the job title of the new job, where that person's going to be located, the department, and so on and so forth. And I click submit. This is going to save this form into the DocuWare file cabinet. I can see these new hire requisitions that are stored in the file cabinet. So now they're stored as a document and it's in the file cabinet ready for me to process. And in this case, I put a stamp on the document. I had looked at this document a little bit before. but we can stamp the documents using electronic stamps that tell us who did this process, who looked at it, and I may have, the done may trigger another workflow process that'll send it through. So that gives you a good overview. The forms can be used in a number of different ways. We can use those for customer service inquiries. You could use them for a vendor application. We can use those again very frequently in HR for new hire applications. So the web forms really give us a lot of flexibility in where we can apply these in a business. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about electronic signatures. And I'm going to go back out to my document trays here and open up my signature tray. Now, if I have a document that is going to require a signature, again, I don't have to physically have that signed or move that physically to somebody's location. I can send this out for an electronic signature. So I have a document that's going to need to be signed. By placing this into my signature file cabinet, I can fill out all this information. And again, we can either do it with that, as I said, the intelligent indexing, or we can choose our configuration. Here I'm going to use DocuSign, and we can highlight and automatically populate information just based on certain parameters. Like if I hover over the name of the company, it's going to populate that. It's going to read off of the document the contact name. It's going to read off the document the email address, and I can store that document. And what that's done is that's triggered a process that's going to open up and send this as an email to a recipient that's going to receive an email that says, hey, you've got a document you need to sign. I can review the document. I can go through the e-signature process. And simply by applying my signature to the document, I can that simply be able to sign and date a document and send it back, so that that'll automatically go back and be stored into the DocuWare file cabinet. Here's my signed documents. And see, that list is, again, that shortcut that allows me to go right to my signed documents, and I can open up the document and I can see the signature, today's date, and most importantly, attached to that document is the certificate of completion from DocuSign that shows that this was a compliant process. And then I can see the original document as well with the without the signature, the original document that we sent out. So those are just a couple of things that will give you some very effective tools, whether it's an HR process for hiring new employees, whether it's a legal process for managing your contracts, or whether it's a simple accounting process for paying your bills more effectively, or collecting money from your customers more effectively. We can help you with all of those different workflows and capabilities. And while we're doing this, we can, again, manage your functions of who can do what. We can create roles and profiles that will allow you to say who can look at what documents within your organization and what they can do with those documents as well. So if you'd like to see this would be a little bit more detailed demonstration that we can arrange for you after the fact, and we'd be glad to do that for you. So before we finish, the one thing that I do want to show is our integration capabilities. Now you'll notice I stored a couple of invoices, but I'm over here in QuickBooks. And what I want to do in QuickBooks is I want to go see the documents that I have in the system related to WB Mason. So with a simple hotkey function, be able to just go out and retrieve that specific document that relates to that transaction. So you'll see WB Mason, I bring up my WB Mason invoice, and it's that easy to be able to do. So I'm going to turn this back over to Nicole, and she can pick up with our introduction of our guest.
All right, Dan, thanks so much. Thanks for that introductory demo. And we will send a recording later, so if anyone has any questions regarding that, let us know. So let me get back up my screen here. All right, so with that, what you saw was an overview of DocuWare. You saw, 10 tools all within Docuware to help you increase efficiency. This was intended to be a first look, so we definitely want to continue the conversation with you all. If you have specific processes, documents and needs, let's work together to see how we can, help you use Docuware to just be more productive, save time and money, and just focus on, driving your business forward. So with that, we're going to transition now to our customer spotlight section. I would like to ask Michelle to join us on the line, and we're just going to have a casual chat about, how Motive Health has used Docuware and what their success story looks like. So, hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you guys? I'm actually really excited to be able to talk to you guys today about what Motive Health is doing with our Docuware system. We're a startup. We've been in business since 2016, and a couple of years ago, we had the opportunity to find Docuware, and it has completely changed our manual process, saved us literally thousands of hours of manual data entry, or because we're a health insurance, what happens is we get a lot of medical records, and it's helped streamline with our clinical services team, our medical director, and even faxes. We have our faxes coming right into Docuware.
Great. So it sounds like, all of your points of entry have been covered, and now this solution now centralizes that for you guys. You don't have to, be scattered, looking here and there and running around. Great.
And we were using SharePoint, and it just got to the point it was not as effective as we got bigger. And so we were able to, instead of having to manually save into a member folder or send over to our account managers, we were able to automatically do it right through Docuware. And the interesting thing that we just did is, because we have to review medical records, and our nurses and our medical director, as well as our appeals team, we actually can take a link, what Dan was showing you. We can take a link and we put it right into a system, and our medical director and clinical services, they can just actually click on that link and it will take them right to Docuware for them to view. They don't have to try searching. They don't have to wonder if they've got the right member, because where they're at, it takes them right to that member ID.
Great. And just let's go back in time a little bit. So, can you kind of explain, especially for those in the line, like how Docuware started out your company? Was it in one specific department or process? And how did it evolve outward? Like, how was the user adoption? Like, sounded like people were they were excited to, once they saw success in one place, they're like, how can we get in on that too?
So we had, we originally we were looking at Docuware to start out with our claims that come in. We get hard copy claims, and we were manually having to enter them. They wouldn't go through. We didn't have an OCR system, and what we ended up doing is working with our amazing partner, Les Olson in Salt Lake City, and they helped us get involved with Docuware. We had the demo, and immediately it was like our artificial intelligence. We could scan our medical claims in, and they would automatically go right into the system. We would have indexers looking at them and doing a quality check. So that was really the first point. And then we decided to do all of our correspondence, whether it came through faxes, email. Dan highlighted, we can actually, if we get an email into a shared email box, we can actually just click on the document and send it right where we want to in Docuware. So we started with the correspondence, our appeals, then we moved into our medical records. We get thousands of pages of medical records. And now our finance department is using it for forms. We have to get information from our doctors. and they'll send the forms out to the doctors. It comes right back into DocuWare. And our next step is our provider contracts. So as you can imagine, with an insurance company, we have a lot of provider contracts. And so we are actually putting them into DocuWare, and then come renewal time, we can actually just send them, hey, here's your amendment, here's an update, and they can return it, and it goes right back into our system.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it sounds like you mentioned before, because of these tools and automation, it sounds like just there's a lot less manual task necessary, and like save time. Like, kind of, what is the mood surrounding DocuWare? Was there any like specific benefits that you think resonate the most with your team and the daily users of it?
I think as we grew, obviously our membership grew, and our claims grew, and correspondence grew. It was like, can't we get something automated? Do we have to manually look at these and put them somewhere? We're manually putting them into a file, in member file, or we're manually sending them to our doctor, medical director, and clinical services. And so there were some mistakes being made. You don't want to send the wrong information to somebody. And with DocuWare, it automatically does artificial intelligence. It will find the name, the last name, the first name, our member IDs, date of birth. If we've got authorizations, it can find that. And so we can actually sort and search any way we want. So in my department, we do a lot of auditing, a lot of the correspondence sending back and forth. And we also have subrogation. So with subrogation, they come in, we're able to have a flow with it and watch our appeals, where they go, where they're at. So it's taken a lot of the stress off of, I hope I'm not sending this to the wrong place, or I haven't saved it. So it actually, when it comes into the system through faxes, it's in the system.
All right, so it sounds like what I'm gathering from that is, not only is it like the save time, like not having to do manual stuff, but knowing that the documents are going to the right place at the right time and having that oversight. Yes. So you don't have to guess, like, hey, where's this document? Did so-and-so send it already? Like, where is it at? So it's taking that mental burden off as well.
Yeah, it is. And we actually scan through a scanner. And it goes we can scan it right to the claims, we can scan it right to medical records, letters, and it scans right in. And for the most part, we don't have to touch a lot of the documents, because the AI takes care of it for us. We just do like a glance, an audit. And then when we're teaching at something new, so we want them to do the provider contracts, we literally had to just go in and point where it needs to go. And we did that maybe 20 times, and it automatically found where it needed within the document.
All right, great. I just have one more question, because we're talking about, how your team uses it internally. Do you see like any benefits for, outsiders that are interacting with, your company, like customers, suppliers? Like, it's just they're unable to get in touch with you guys faster, get what needs to be done. Is that kind of like what kind of productivity has been achieved there?
Because instead of just having them, you have to mail them or you have to fax them. Things can be emailed and go into the system, and we can actually go, and within maybe 24 hours, it's like, yeah, we've received it, it's being looked at. We've got our account managers with underwriting, because we have, groups that we have a lot of documentation that we receive, and they can say, yep, we've got it, we're sending it over for a signature. So it's taken the guessing game out, and being so new with our company, we knew we were going to grow, and we knew we were going to grow quickly, and we got in DocuWare right at the perfect time that we were able to, we weren't too big trying to figure out how we're going to do this, how, you know, what do we want it to look like. So we were really fortunate because we were new, DocuWare was new, and we were able to set it up exactly the way we needed it. You know, obviously, we've got a great support system with Les Olson, even DocuWare. They come out, they interact with us. If we have problems, they're available. So we haven't had any, I mean, we've had hiccups. Everything has a hiccup, but for the most part, it really has. Other departments are saying, well, hey, what can we do for this? And actually, I seen something that Dan showed that I didn't know, like, oh, wait, we could do that. I didn't even think about that. So I'm going to take that back to I'll take that back to our team and say, hey, I think our leadership team, this is what we can do. I learned something new. So
Great. All right. Yeah, that's what we're here to do. Show, you know, different tools to new users, people not already using it. So that's great. You know, you uncovered something beneficial there. So, all right. I think that's it, Michelle. Thank you so much for taking the time and speaking on your experience with DocuWare. We really appreciate that. I just have just this kind of wrap-up slide here. Dan, if you want to come back on the line, we'll open it up for Q&A now. So what you saw today was an introductory demo, just giving you a first look at DocuWare, experiencing it, you know, on your own terms. You can take this research back to your team, but we definitely want to help you. You can contact your authorized DocuWare partner. You would have received a webinar invitation from them. You can go to docuware.com/demo to request a more in-depth demo for your specific needs, or you can email us anytime at contact.us@docuware.com, and we will put you in touch with the right person to answer your questions. So it looks like we have about 10 minutes. So let's kick off the Q&A now. And again, for those who, you know, if you may need to jump, we will send you an email later today with this information. And definitely feel free to email. Let's keep the lines of communication open. So let's see. I saw some questions coming in. So let me get started here. So someone is asking a question about web forms, Dan. So for the creation of web forms, is that accomplished with a built-in template that you supply, or can we create the form with our own tools and reference the document data fields in DocuWare?
We can help you create those, and that would probably be something our professional services team can work with you to help guide you in the creation of those documents and those web forms. So it would be something that we could certainly help you with.
Yep, and then we can also walk you through the web form tool builder as well. I was creating some forms the other day with it, so it's pretty user friendly. Let's see, someone's asking, I guess this relates to DocuWare's browser-based capability. Saw you using Edge. Can Chrome or Firefox be used as well?
Actually, in the demonstration, I was switching back and forth. I had different users logged in as different with different browsers. I was using Edge, Chrome, and Firefox all as part of the demonstration, and I've used it in Safari before. So it is almost all of the standard browsers will work with DocuWare.
All right, great. Next question is someone's asking, how does the AI indexing setup work?
That is built into the system where basically it's a matter of training the documents. So those documents that came into my document tray, where you were seeing the green bar on the document, that was showing that those documents that type of document had been cycled through a few times. So in other words, if you have vendors that are sending you invoices over a period of time, the first couple of times you scan those invoices, you might have to do some of that click indexing that I showed later on in the demonstration to complete that. But the artificial intelligence actually gets trained with to identify the different document types and apply its filters to those different document types. So you don't have to create specific templates for each document. The older technology that we used to use, you'd have to do that, where you'd have to scan a vendor invoice and create fields that it was going to read for each invoice type. Now with the artificial intelligence applied, we train the documents to be read and OCR'd accordingly. So the zone OCR is no longer tied to, let me get technical here, the anchors and locks that used to be put into templates previously. We can do it in most cases with a pretty templateless application.
Great, thank you. Michelle, question for you. You mentioned that when you started using DocuWare, like the timing was right. How long actually has DocuWare been, embedded in Motive Health's technology toolkit?
I would say we're going on our third year. So we've started into our third year. And like I said, it started very small, and we've just slowly been able to integrate it into different different departments.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I mean, 3 years, it sounds like even though you were taking it slow, it sounds like you're able to accomplish a pretty good amount. And that's probably, speaking to the DocuWare tool itself, along with your DocuWare partner. So that's great to hear. All right, let's see. Looks like we have a couple questions, and we are good on time. It seems like people are really interested in the forms. So can DocuWare collect data not used in the index fields, but sent to different line of business applications?
Yes, actually, we have an export function within DocuWare that when documents are stored and those index values are extracted, they can automatically be set up for exporting that data so that it can be brought over to line of business application.
Okay, it sounds like there was a similar question that came before that. Someone was asking about, can you create a data source from other applications, such as a student information system or a SQL server? I guess how does that integration can work, or can it work? Just speak to that.
Yeah, we have a number of tools that allow for various integrations, from a very simple integration that I can show now. I was showing before that I tried to show before, but we also have APIs that allow you to be able to integrate database at the database level as well as at the document level.
All right, yeah, I'll definitely pass that question on to a team member so you can definitely get more specific technical information on that. Question, Dan, regarding the mobile app. Are there user permissions on that as well? Do the same functionalities in the browser work on the app too?
Yes, you can log in from your phone or your iPad, your tablet, and be able to utilize the same thing. So even processing workflows can be accomplished from the mobile app. So if, for instance, you saw where that little red dot in the screen lit up for Peggy Jenkins to approve a document, that same thing can show up on the mobile app that will allow you to be able to pass that document through to the next person in the workflow by approving. You have the same options of being able to approve an invoice, reject an invoice, just as though you were working on your desktop. It's a very, very powerful application.
All right, great. Looks like we're, kind of at the time now. Michelle, I just wanted to ask, any final comments about DocuWare in general you would like to share with everyone now that, while we have them on the line?
I'm kind of lost at words because, DocuWare was in my opinion, was a big change in the right direction for our company. And without it, I think we would have been trying to search for a lot of different programs and software to look at here and here, and DocuWare has been able to just put it all together. So we really just appreciate all of the support and time that DocuWare and Les Olson has put in. because they've come on. Les Olson actually, they build it for us. They set it up exactly the way we needed it. And if it's like, oh, that's not working, we can reach out and they're immediately fixing it. And that's how easy it was just to fix something or update or add something. It's very simple. And I think DocuWare has done a great job in making it a very user-friendly system.
Right, definitely. I think you definitely hit the nail on the head, kind of tying it back to the webinar theme, like the 10 digital tools are all within DocuWare. So now instead of maybe you already have a separate form solution or a separate e-signature, this and that, and they could be separated. Now let's bring them all together with this one solution. Let's eliminate, a lot of manual tasks, have more peace of mind, knowing like who's looking at what, have oversight into document processes and workflows. So that's great. And thank you all again for joining us. Thank you, Michelle, for having a chat, joining us today. Definitely reach out to your authorized DocuWare partner if you're already working with one. If not, we can put you in touch with whoever that may be. See a more in-depth demo at docuware.com/demo or email us anytime at contactus@docuware.com. Look out for an email in about half an hour to an hour with the recording, the slides, and the handouts. And we hold monthly webinars, so definitely head to our website or you'll receive a webinar invitation from your DocuWare partner for the next one. All right, everyone, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.